Inside the booth, Mr. Monday's alive. You're listening to the Urban Business Roundtable. I'm your host, Curtis R. Monday. Call me live in the studio at 312-374-8130. That's 312-374-8130. You're looking to get your financial house in order, call my office, the Curtis R. Monday Insurance Agency at 708-647-1005. If you need looking for business or strategic coaching, especially in the area of real estate, visit the website www.curtisrmonday.com to be able to get some one-on-one coaching. Saying what's up to everybody. We got a great show lined up for you today on this cold Valentine's Day All-Star Game weekend in Chicago. So we got some great guests. The show is called the Urban Business Roundtable. The show is dedicated to the creation and growth of the urban entrepreneur. We have three primary goals here on UBR. Goal number one, to redefine the word urban and to help the urban community be able to leverage our purchasing power. Two, to be a resource for the creation, the sustaining, and growth of small businesses and entrepreneurship. And to three, goal number three, to provide small business owners and entrepreneurs access to capital and opportunities to grow their businesses. You can listen to the Urban Business Roundtable every Saturday morning here from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON, and the condensed recap versions on Wednesdays at 8:30 a.m. And Thursdays at 6:05 p.m. Coming up at 9:30, we're going to be joined by one of our guests. She's the president and co-founder of Cabbage, Miss Catherine Petrulia. We're going to make sure that I got the correct pronunciation of that name. My in-studio guest, live in effect this morning, she's the founder of Chop Chop Mobile Salon and Barbers. I want to say good morning to Miss Keisha King. Good morning, Keisha.
Good morning.
All right. And so, as always, before we get started, I got to give thanks for thanks is due. I want to say thank you again to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I try to share with you guys little nuggets that God has dropped in my spirit of the week that's helped me not only in my personal life, but also in business. And I think in business, this is really important. Keisha, you can let me know what you think about this one. You got to always remember our God moments, right? There are definitive moments in our life where we are faced with the impossible, and you don't know how you're going to get through it. I don't care if it's a month where the income is less than the revenue coming in your business. I don't know if it's a death of a loved one. It could be a breakup, something where you just look, I don't know how in the hell I'm going to get through this thing, but somehow, some way, God gets you through. And I think that we forget that he's able to do those things because, and the way I know that is because when we're faced with the next situation, we freak out and panic and don't recall that he just got us through that prior situation that we thought we couldn't get over to begin with. So my word today, and again, as an entrepreneur, Keisha, you could probably relate to this, you got to remember your God moments. Stop from having spiritual amnesia. You got to be able to recall those things. I got to imagine starting having an upstart business. It had to be a couple of God moments you had to reach back here and pull over the years.
Definitely. It's funny because I made a post about this not too long ago, and it was just like, a lot of people say they're Christian and they say believe in God and everything, and then it's like things happen and you just lose it. Like you feel, a lot of people give up or they just like, oh, this is the end of the world. And it's like, I thought you had faith.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And for me, it was all about, I felt like I had exhausted all avenues for like raising money and, starting my business. And then all of a sudden, like a chain of events just start happening when I decided to let go. And I'm like, God, I know you want me to do this because you put it in my head.
Yeah.
But, I just had to let him take it from there.
I mean, faith wouldn't be faith if you could see it and touch it all the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it has to be that in that realm where you don't know how things are going to work out. And as just in life in general, I've been there. I got this terrible habit. I was talking to one of my best friends. I got this terrible habit. I'm a guy that glass is half empty versus half full. Mm-hmm. So I always embrace the worst case scenario. So like, let's take it's Valentine's Day weekend. Let's take the relationships. If we break up, in my mind, she then went with the NBA ball player. Like the next dude, he an NBA ball player. He rich. They doing reality shows. Like, he loving her right. And I'm gonna be just hurt and that. So it's the worst case scenario in my mind. And what that does to me a lot of times, it paralyzes me. It stops me from making a decision on something because I'm trying to embrace the worst case scenario. Now, two things happen. One, when the scenario actually does play out, I'm far more prepared for it than what I could ever imagine because I've been tormented by this worst case scenario. And then two, it never is bad. The reality of the real situation is never as bad as what I've made it up in my mind. And so it's just a crazy thing. I think faith plays into that, because if we would have faith that God can kind of get us through these things, we wouldn't worry so much.
Right.
Keisha.
And
Yeah.
I think we have to think about a lot of times, what is the worst case scenario, and is it going to kill me? Because at the end of the day,
there you
that's
go.
that's how I think. Like, I'm like, at the end of the day, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to lose some money.
Yeah.
I can lose some money without trying to do a business endeavor.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, though, you also have to have trust and confidence in yourself that you can bounce back.
Absolutely. I want to say good morning to the team that makes up what we do here on UBR. We got my man Troy, the silent assassin. Always felt, hardly ever heard. I appreciate you this morning, brother. Mighty Titus on the ones and twos. Good morning to you, Mighty Titus.
Good morning. All-Star Weekend was great. Had a great time at the Rising Stars game last night. I am so pumped.
You got out there and did it. Okay. And then we got Sonya. I saw Sonya Levon, our producer. What? Hey,
Well, what's going on, Mr. Curtis Monday?
Sonya, you got a little new hairdo.
You know I always got a new hairdo.
Oh, yeah, that's that Valentine's Day glow. Look at you. You woke up walking on air. Look at you. You see it, Titus?
Yes, it is. It's a Valentine's Day glow.
Oh, look at you. Sonya Levon come to work, man. He said, man, baby, go ahead and get out there to work today, huh? Let you out. Cup. You get cuffed all year. And the one weekend you have the ability to be cuffed for Valentine, you come to work. I just can't. I just can't get I can't. We just
Wrap
can't
it
get
around
the
there.
rhythm.
I am very, very unpredictable, Mr. Curtis Monday.
This is what I see. Everybody had a good Valentine's Day. Good Valentine's. No, Mighty Titus say no. Okay, Keith, good Valentine's Day.
It's family day.
Family day. Hey,
I don't celebrate
You don't
because my
celebrate.
Valentine's Day is a day.
Every
Ain't
day.
nothing he
Look
can
at
do
you.
on this day
Look at
that's
you.
different from any other day
Look
he
at
has
you.
done.
That's
So we
that-
don't celebrate.
that's that vet talking. Sonya vet. That's that
Right.
vet. Yeah, we every day. My man do me right for Valentine's Day every day.
You a mess.
Hey man, Valentine's Day is different. I'm along with Keisha. Like, it was a family day. You know, I cook. I can cook. I'm actually a good cooker. Like, I used to, like, before I had this thing. I would go to the grocery store, and I couldn't leave without checking out and buying like a cookbook. So I like to cook. So I cooked Tuscan shrimp and chicken last night, and hung out with the family and real relaxing. And I would sleep by 8. That's my life. The life of a swinging, a swinging in-demand guy. I would sleep by 8. I got to get up tomorrow and do everything. So yeah, but yeah, Valentine's Day, man, caused a lot of stress for people. So God bless you guys. Hey, follow me on social media. Again, Facebook, Curtis R. Monday, IG, Curtis C. Monday, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're still trying to grow the content. Well, got good content out there, and so we're still trying to grow it. So I encourage you guys to be able to tune in and join in. And again, call the agency if you have a charity or not-for-profit. We got $1,000 towards your organization and our Quotes for Good program. Let's get started with my first guest. She is the founder of Chop Chop Mobile Salon and Barbershop. While being a wife, a mother too, she founded her business along with being a full-time marketing manager at Grainger, which is a Fortune 500 company. In 2016, Keisha's detailed business plan and impressive live pitch to ABC Shark Tank star Damon John earned her a win and a $20,000 Miller Lite Tap the Future semifinalist. Chop Chop has powered brand activations and promotional tours across the country for notable lifestyle and luxury brands such as the Chicago Bears, Uber, Phillips Norell Co., Lincoln Motors, and Adidas. And her mission for the company is to create platforms that foster dialogue, connection, and exchange, and dispel stereotypes one haircut at a time. I want to say good morning to my first guest, Miss Keisha King. Good morning to you, Keisha.
Good morning. That sounded good.
Man, God, good. Won't he do it? He got your stuff together. She got her stuff together. Now, it's funny. I told my barber to tune in because I swear to God, like my barber, he's great, and he's always has like these great ideas, and so I like to give him other ideas. And we were talking about this whole concept, not knowing you even existed.
Yeah.
So I feel like, damn, was I behind the curve, or is he still my idea? But nah. So we were just talking about this. I was like, man, you should think about this. So tell us again, start from the beginning. what was the motivation for the business? Because you were, if I understand right, you were working in a Fortune 500 company. So talk to us about that time.
And I hear that all the time, just so you know.
Yeah.
Everybody say, you hear that? Everybody say, that was my idea. I was going to do that. But yeah, so I actually was on maternity leave at Granger. And the crazy thing is, I had started a business before that, and it was kind of just it was a marketing consulting company, and it was just a way for me to like get into corporate America because everybody kept telling me I don't have enough experience. But anyways, that I stopped doing that because I just felt like it was unfulfilling. Like it was like, yeah, something I could do, I was good at, but I didn't have a team. I didn't have like people around me. I didn't feel like it was going to change the world. So I kind of like stopped doing that, focused on corporate. But in corporate America, man, like the turnover, the turnover, but, you know, the companies doing reorganizations and all that kind of stuff. So in the 7 years I was there, I had been like, my role had been eliminated 3 different times.
Yeah, stressful, unpredictable.
Yeah. So I was just like, I can't rely on corporate America. Like
Right.
if they get rid of my department and I'm just stuck, then what am I going to do?
Right.
So when I was on maternity leave, I actually had just went through a reorg and had to re-interview for my job, all that stuff. I was pregnant and it was just stressful. I got the job, but then when I was on maternity leave, I'm like, I got to do something different. This was the same time that the Mike Brown situation went down, right? When he got shot. And I'm watching news at home and I'm just, I'm on Facebook and I see all these comments, people just going back and forth about who's right, both sides, everybody mad at each other, white, black, everybody, all the hate. And I was like, it got to be a way for us to get over this.
Sure.
Like, we shouldn't be here.
Sure.
And so I was just thinking, how can I mix my passion of like hair care and beauty and all that stuff with finding a way to get people together and realize we're more alike than we are different.
Okay.
So with the salon, I always kind of wanted to have a salon, but I wanted to do something different. And I was watching Steve Harvey and saw this woman talking about her mobile blow dry bar. So she would like go to people's house, blow dry their hair, all that kind of stuff. So I started thinking, well, mobile food trucks, hair, mobile food trucks, I was like, well, what if I did like a mobile salon and barbershop?
Okay.
And this way we would go around to different communities and locations so that we're not just in one specific area servicing one type of client.
Okay.
So now you got events and corporations and places we can go that already have that diversity in the office. And if they're coming down and getting their hair done in like this little trailer, then that could be a platform to start having connections and dialogue that you wouldn't normally have.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I do another show called She Flips, He Flips. It's a real estate investment show. One of the topics we'll talk about later on the day is how do you know when to quit your 9 to 5 to go full time in investing? When you decide to start your business, were you ready?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I don't suggest that for like 2 to 3 years in the business.
Okay.
Like all that Shark Tank stuff when they're like, are you solely doing this? And if you're not, then you're not ready to be. That's a lie.
Right.
That's
made for TV. I agree.
Yes. Because how are you going to support yourself?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And
so when you started, were you still working at Granger?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
I was working. I had the business running for about 2 to 3 years. About 3 years. I actually just, I didn't leave. They had another reorg.
Yeah.
And that was in May of 2018.
Okay.
And so I just made the decision then to say, instead of going back and looking for a job, I had already had enough traction where I was like, this can work.
Sure.
Let me try and put this, full time in the business. And I was getting severance for a little bit.
A little while. How are you able to do that balance? Because again, like if you, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, they'll tell you that, you got income producing job and you got asset producing work, and you don't leave your income producing job until your asset producing work can supplement.
Absolutely.
So you were doing both, right? Granger and starting Chop Mobile, a wife, mother. How in the hell did you balance? Because I got a little guy, and he's 14 months, and he want all that smoke.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? He it's no chill with Chance the baby. He wants all my attention. How are you able to balance everything?
It's like, I tell people when they ask me that, I'm like, I don't even think about it. Because as soon as I think about it, then I'm like, how the hell am I doing this? You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things when you're so passionate about something. I literally was coming home, cooking dinner, spending time with the kids, putting them to bed, and then I was up until like 5 o'clock in the morning, sleep for an hour, go to work.
Yeah.
But it's like people like Steve Harvey. I was listening to a show he was talking about. He's like, everybody has 24 hours a day. Beyonce got 24 hours a day. Everybody has 24 hours. And so it's like, how are you using
the
each
24
hour?
hours,
You know, when I was at work on my lunch break, I was on the internet doing research.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was just always
engulfed in
Yeah.
what it is you're doing. And passion will take you there. So for those who aren't familiar with the business, how does it work?
So basically, we try to partner with brands. And so if you think about, like, we did a tour with Phyllis Norelco. We have a salon trailer, and we actually can take that trailer on the road. We can do promotional tours for that brand, or we can actually just source barbers, professional barbers and stylists for events, because it's just amazing how this happened. This is why I tell everybody, just get started, because you'll get a lot of information by just putting up a website.
Right.
You'll find out who wants to use you for what, because a lot of times how you think you're going into the business and what you want to do is not necessarily what everybody else is looking for from you.
Sure.
So, anyways, we work with brands to just like promote their products, to do demos, sampling, things like that. And then I'm really focused on trying to work with corporations so that we can bring on-site barbering.
So not the kind of barbershop that to get my weekly cut, right? Not that one, but more or less you guys' niche is to partner with corporations, brands, and things of that nature.
Yeah, so we're more B2B.
Okay.
So we
Business.
sell to the businesses, and then we're B2B to C. So we sell to businesses, and then we're used by the end user,
The client,
which
right.
is the employee or the client or the customers of the brand. So we do want to be that regular cadence when we're working with companies. Like if we were working with a Google and we came on site to Google every 2 weeks, then everybody could
To
come
service the
down
employees.
to service the employees.
Okay.
That's our long-term game. Like, that's the sustainable business. But we do a lot of events. And so that's like we did a 42-city tour with Phyllis Norelco, where they're just going to different colleges and universities across the country, and they want to demo their new trimmer and shaver.
Right.
And so I sourced barbers in every market in all the 42 states, and provided a barber for them to use for the events.
How did you know that this model would be financially successful?
So I spent a year doing research, and that's why I say you should work a full-time job while you're pursuing your stuff, because you got to take the time to do research, understand the industry and the market. But I also found a competitor, and I put that in quotes because I don't really believe in competitors in the instance that, like, you have to be worried about them and scared of them. I found somebody who was doing the same thing in San Francisco or San Diego.
Sure.
And so after I had done all my research and I felt like this is something I want to invest my money in, because I had to invest like $100,000.
Sure.
So I needed to be sure.
Yeah.
So then I flew out. I emailed him. He ended up being real nice. I asked him a lot of questions. He was very helpful. And I was like, can I come out and see it?
Yeah.
So when I went out there and I saw it, I got on the trailer. I was just like, this is dope. And he
Right.
was actually going to business parks and corporations, and people were coming, and I was like, this could work.
He helped with the blueprint. He
Yeah.
helped you. And it's
Yeah.
funny because people think that other entrepreneurs aren't willing to share information and things of that nature, and that's really far from the truth. So I'm glad you had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to my barber, right, one of the conversations that we have consistently is that he's great at what he does, and so he cuts. But he can't really get scale in this business because he doesn't have other barbers there, right? Recruiting and finding barbers locally in the Chicagoland market has been difficult for him. So it's like if he's not cutting, if he's out of town, if he's sick, revenue kind of stops.
Right.
And we talk constantly. I don't know nothing about cutting, but the business aspect doesn't take a rocket science. You need 4 or 5 other people in here. How are you able? You said you went to 42 states and outsourced barbers in each state. 2-part question.
Yeah.
How did you find them, and how did you know they were good?
So, they have all these platforms now. They have Booksy. They have all these different apps that basically you can find
So you had
stylists
to
on.
be able to, okay, books.
And, yeah, so you can use, I leverage some of those tools, and then also Instagram.
Right.
So, like, if I needed a barber in New York, everybody hashtags New York barber, NYC barber,
Right.
or, San Diego barber. So I was just using hashtags on Instagram, and then that way I could go through their profile.
And kids kind of see.
Yep,
what
and
they're
see
doing.
not only their work, but also their demeanor and their personality.
Sure.
Because a lot of people I try to tell them, like, Instagram, Facebook, all these social media platforms are being used by people that are looking for talent, people that are looking for potential employees and all that kind of stuff. And I use that to gauge, would this person represent Chop Chop well if I send them to this event, put on by Amazon and Norelco. So if you got all kind of crazy stuff on your profile, it's just like, nah.
Did you fly out to each event just to kind of see how things work?
Yeah, okay. Out of the 42, I say about 5 of them.
Sure. Now, the investment that's involved in respect to get it up, I'm assuming it's for the actual physical trailer itself?
Yeah, most of it was for the trailer, and then, I have a truck that pulls the trailer. So I had a Dodge Ram, had to get that. And then, all the equipment, the chairs, the stuff that has to go, because it's a salon or a barbershop. So all the stuff that you would find in a barbershop or salon, you got to, put it in there. And then also our other model is, if there's not space for the trailer or the company doesn't want the trailer, we just create like a barbershop inside the location. Sure. So we'll just, chairs and all that other stuff. So all that equipment, we need it.
And then for the tour, you guys basically drove. Did you drive state to state?
No, for this tour, actually, we didn't even use a trailer. Okay. They just wanted us to source the barbers. So I literally was in my bed just searching. And that was like my job, was just to find the talent, let them know, what they had to do, and then making the connection.
I'm curious, when you were reaching out to these corporate partners, prior to that, did you have any experience with contracts and negotiations? Because I come across a lot of entrepreneurs. Like, for example, when I first started to do public speaking, and the first person that asked me to come speak at a commencement, and then the next question was, hey, I want you to come speak. Okay, great. What do you charge? I'm like, oh, wow. Wow, I never really thought about the ask.
Right.
And how. So did you have, like, and if not, how did you know what to ask for when you were working with these companies to make it worthwhile, and talk me through that?
That's tough, because honestly, I say my competitive advantage is the fact that I'm not a barber or stylist by trade, and I don't, but I have a business background. Okay. And so, I used to do sales, but on a consumer level. So I would be calling, people trying to get them to go to school. And I never sold business to business before. So a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, learning about contracts, what to put in the contracts, what to charge. And there's not a lot of businesses like mine. So I can't just go on somebody's website and see what they charge. Sure. And so a lot of it is just kind of let me quote this. And if they come back so quickly that they're like, oh yeah, sure, this is fine, then I might be too low. Yeah. And then if I put something out there and they're taking a long time, or they say no, then it's okay, maybe my pricing is off. It just, I'm still trying to figure out what's the right
same thing to me. I think the first time I got hired to do a commencement speech and they asked me my price, I kind of put it out there and I closed my eyes when they say, okay, great, I'm like, oh, wow, I need to raise that price up. They went for it.
Well, I'll tell you, a big aha moment was working with Adidas. So, I think I charged $2,500 for 2 stylists. And I'm like, this is great. You know what I'm saying? Just thinking about us in terms of us getting paid, not even really thinking about all the expenses that I have and how I should be tacking that into the price. But anyways, the guy who hired us, he was pissed off because the water vendor, the people that were bringing the flavored water for the volleyball players, he was like, they're late. I can't believe we paying $20,000 for some water and they late. And I said, $20,000. And I'm thinking, we're actually doing the volleyball players' hair. They're standing up. It's manual labor. And I charge $2,500. Wow. That was an aha moment. I'm in a whole different realm. This industry has money. Oh, yeah. I need to be charged.
But it speaks to us, being infants in the game at that point and not really knowing our true value or what, the true value of what we bring to the table. You kind of learn those things. Yeah. And so, again, no offense, I gave crackhead prices when I first started doing public speaking, and now it's evolved over time. But so great information. Tell us what's next for the business. What's the next evolution? Where are you going with it?
Really, so I feel like even though we've been in the game for it's about 4 years now, a lot of that is that learning, that testing, trying to figure out who's the best type of customer, how much to charge, all those kind of things. And so I've decided to really pivot and really focus on the companies. So trying to be the on-site salon and barbershop for a company like a Google, for a company like a Grainger, so their employees can use us. And finding that I need to get that embedded into the employee perks and wellness and benefits. And so right now I'm really focused on selling it as an employee benefit. So that companies, because a lot of companies are struggling with like engagement and bringing, getting top talent to come and stay.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times they're staying because of those perks.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to really educate some of the companies that this is the new wave. This is the new thing that's going to get you those.
Yeah. Those, especially I see a lot with tech-based companies, smaller startup tech-based companies. They have a lot of amenities that really speak to their team or their talent, their employees. You know, they like their waiting, their break areas got like video games in it,
right? And
sofas,
I've seen skateboard ramps,
man, right?
Dog parks in the office.
I didn't want my staff to go here at all. Like, man, don't y'all visit this place? Don't get no ideas. We not at best you get some heralds from me on Friday. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got some more great conversation. I got the one and only Keisha King, founder of Chop Chop Mobile Salon. Welcome back to the Urban Business Roundtable. I'm Curtis R. Monday. Call me live in the studio at 312-374-8130. I want you to keep it locked here all day at WVON. After I get off the air, I take a quick break, and I'll be back at 11 a.m. with She Flips, He Flips. My co-host, EJ Williams, we talk about real estate investing. I'm joined with my guest. She's the founder of Chop Chop Mobile Salon and Barber, Ms. Keisha King. Good morning to you, Keisha.
Good morning. Good morning.
Keisha, if people want to utilize your services for an event or do different things, where can they reach you?
www.chopchopmobile.com. You can go to our website. You can check out all of our services and book an event.
Sure. Keisha and I were talking about entrepreneurship, and conversation can go in so many different ways. Keisha, what's the hardest part a two-part question. What was the hardest part for you becoming an entrepreneur? And now that you are an entrepreneur, what's the hardest part about being an entrepreneur?
It was mindset. I mean, I grew up working in corporate and getting that check on a regular basis and demanding a salary and all that kind of stuff, and feeling like, honestly, once I left the company and I started entrepreneurship full time, I had a whole new appreciation for entrepreneurs. Like even my barbers and stylists, like if they don't cut hair, they ain't making money.
Right.
So there's a true hustle.
Yeah.
And when you work full time and you have a side business, you still don't understand that hustle because you're not reliant on that.
Yeah.
And when I made that transition, I used to value myself based on how much money I was bringing in.
Yeah.
And it took a while. I was depressed for a little bit because I wasn't making any money and I felt like I wasn't contributing to my family.
Sure.
And so realizing that my contribution is not just financial and that it's actually being able to go to all my kids' events, to go during the day, to go to something my daughter was doing at school, making dinner, being there when they get home. Like, that's a whole different type of contribution.
Yeah, that's an investment in human capital. I think my hardest thing about becoming an entrepreneur, it was trying to work with other people who possess the same level of focus that I had. Like, I knew that it all was dependent upon me. And so I have no patience. And so I couldn't understand, have tolerance for my team members at the time when we were growing the business who didn't possess the same level of drive and determination and focus. And it dawned on me that if they were just like me, they probably wouldn't work for me, you know? So I had to be able to learn how, and that's something I'm still learning, to be able to put a team together and bring the most out of an individual's talents and not look at them unfairly through a different prism. I think the hardest thing for me as an entrepreneur right now is I got all these different ideas, all these different things that I'm bombarded with on a daily basis. And I'm in this creation mode, and there's so many things. And sometimes it gets overwhelming. Yeah. And so trying to figure out, to your point, 24 hours in a day, what do I spend time on? What do I push to the shelf?
Right.
What do I put all my effort in, and just trying to figure out what to do. It's all these different things coming at me. I think that's the hardest part for me now, because I feel like as an entrepreneur, again, and this is a legacy component. Like, you have 2 children and a husband. I have a kid. And so I don't do this for my first name. I do this for my last name. And so I feel like I got to be very particular about what I spend my time in.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Because I need to make it count.
Right.
But not just count for me, count for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my hardest thing right now.
Yeah, I think the hard thing about us as like minority business owners is that we, everything is riding on it. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of us don't have a fallback. We don't have money to play with.
Sure.
But something that I've just recently done is I joined 1871, which is an incubator, an accelerator downtown.
Okay.
And it's a tech incubator, accelerator. It's something that in my mind I've always felt like either people that are starting a technology company can only get into. And then I thought it was like mostly white people that do those type of things. But just opening my mind up and applying to it and then getting accepted, they talk about things like just testing and how, a lot of us think that we should be generating like thousands and hundred thousands and millions of dollars in our business within the first year.
Like tomorrow.
To 2 years, right?
Yeah.
That's not realistic. And a lot of times being in business, it's about testing. And you talked about knowing what to do. Well, you got to pick what are the 1, 2, 3 things that potentially could move the needle and that I'm going to focus on for 3 months, and I'm going to invest a lot of money into these things. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to scratch that off my list and go to the next thing.
Sure.
Like I think sometimes, we don't give ourselves enough time to test things and to measure them and then decide whether or not that works. Because
Sure.
one thing that they would tell us is if an investor was going to give you, $10,000 and say grow the business, do you know what you could take that $10,000
and grow the business?
Yeah. A lot of us don't because
Right.
we're just throwing stuff at the wall and we don't give ourselves enough time and we don't measure.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
We've never been coached for that.
Right.
Last week we had, great guy, Shaka Ross, principal of Leo, and the CEO of Big Shoulders talking about some of the curriculum that we're doing. And are you born and raised in Chicago, Keisha?
Evanston.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm not quite sure what the school system was out there like in Evanston, but I know in Chicago, CPS, product, we didn't have any curriculum about entrepreneurship,
right.
about small businesses, about owning the business,
right.
about strategy. Even when I got to college, Northern Illinois, what's up, Huskies? I had my business classes, but they were the run-of-the-mill accounting and finance. It wasn't this what you and I are having to learn real time on the job now to be not just successful, but even just competitive.
Right.
So, yeah.
And even our parents, like my parents had entrepreneurial spirits, right? My dad would buy up a whole bunch of property and just have all these side gigs and stuff, but they also weren't really talking a lot about what they were doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if it's just a stigma that we have sometimes where we don't want to talk about our finances. We don't want to talk about risks that we're taking and what's working, what's not. And so unfortunately, they didn't pass those stories down to us at an age where it's like, oh, we can kind of play with the concepts that they've taught us.
Sure.
So now we still trying to learn all that stuff.
So he was doing all those things, but wasn't kind of showing you along the way.
I think it's just like a generational thing too. Like our parents were not as transparent as we are now.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
And they just may not have known. You know, like my mom, I was blessed enough to have both my mom and dad there with me the whole time. They did the best they could. They just didn't know a lot of things, not the things that I may know in respect to chance. Like I'm going through estate planning right now, right, and trying to put a lot of structure to the businesses and the real estate and things of that nature with very specific instructions on if God calls me home to the upper room before he's a man. Here's what needs to be done. Here's how it needs to be done. Here's the people you call and things.
Right.
I don't think that our parents really, whether they didn't have access to that level of detail and information to pass down to us, or just didn't know. Do you find it tough to get access to capital for your business?
Absolutely.
What's that journey been like, and how have you been able to overcome that?
Honestly, like no matter with banks, it's almost like no matter what you do, you still haven't done enough.
Sure.
Right? So I went to the bank initially like, hey, here's my business plan. They just told me you need to have a sound business plan. Go to the bank, try to get a line of credit or something like that. You go to the bank, you have your business plan. Then they tell you, they do the underwriting and they're like, your business is risky. I'm like, it's a barbershop. It's a salon. Like, how is it risky?
Yeah.
There's thousands and hundreds of barbershops. So it was that. Then I went back proved I had a little bit of traction, but then they're like, oh, but you haven't been in business 3 years, at least 3 years.
Yeah.
Then I've been in business 3 years. I come back and they're like, oh, you got to have this amount of money, revenues, in
waste
order.
of time. Want to smack the hell out of them, right? Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to get it. I came to that realization.
It's not the right audience, and it's a waste of time. I think as an entrepreneur, you need the small, the community-sized bank, right, where you can walk in and shake your hand and people can know you, the credit union.
Right.
Or if not, you have to get more like what the tech companies do and try to find investors. I know, like for real estate transactions, a lot of times, I can only use so much of my own personal money.
Right.
So we have to try to create opportunities and find what we call like private money lenders. We try to find people who may have access to capital.
Right.
They're just sitting there and want a better return and go in the private market. But even then, that's not a skill that we're taught in terms of how to make that pitch, how to identify those people. I don't know about you. I didn't have a lot of legal people in my book who had 100 grand or more. So let's go to the phones, Jones. We got a caller. We got Tracy. Tracy has a comment about the hardships of being an entrepreneur. Good morning to you, Tracy. How you doing?
Okay. How are you?
I can't complain. Thank you for calling the UBR.
I just wanted to say a couple of things that it's not a hardship, but it's just, kind of hard to have a business and you're doing everything by yourself.
Sure.
And right now, I massage. I have an office, and I'm going to school in Davis. I don't know if you know where Davis, California is. And so I'm going back and forth trying to go to school so I can get my 500 hours. And it's been really hard being in the classroom, being the only African American, and, because there's not that many people that go into, professional massage that looks like me.
Sure.
And so that's kind of hard I've been going to the school, I think, for about a year now, and I have about 3 more months. And then I have the cleaning business, too. So the cleaning business brings the money, but the massaging, I haven't really opened my business to the public. It's just been just friends and family. And I just wanted to say to Ms. King that that's a great idea for me to have something like that going to, businesses with like a chair, to do like chair massage or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, Tracy, I'll tell you, keep it up. It sounds like you're going in the right direction. And I think every entrepreneur, Keisha, myself, and everyone listening to us, have had those time frames in our development where it just seems like the weight of the world is on us. There's a good book, and I might be screwing up the title. I think it's called the $1 million one person jobs. It's like a book that, and I'll make sure I'll get it. I'll make sure that I announce it or put it on my social media so you can have it. But it's a book that talks about jobs that you can earn $1 million plus in that one person can do. And one of the
I remember that young lady you had on your program. I think she was on your program.
Yeah. And one of the basic premises of it was that you have to outsource things, right? You have to figure out, look at your job, look at your business, and figure out what things you can outsource. So you're not doing every single thing. Yeah. And then the challenge is that you may not have a lot of income right now to be able to outsource those things. Well, you have to just pick the most important things you can do right now that's affordable and start there and then work your way. But that'll help you to not only alleviate some burden off of you, but also to get scale ultimately in your business. So keep up the good work, Tracy, okay?
Okay, great. Take care. Bye.
All right, yep.
And you know what's something with that, too, is like once how we talked about what are the things that you could put your money into and they're gonna work because you've tested them. So once you've done that and you've tested them and you understand like the roadmap, then you can outsource that to somebody. Because I think another mistake is we feel like we got all this stuff that we got to do. We need help immediately, but we don't really know what we need help with, but we know we need help. Yeah. So like I've gotten into a situation where I've wasted money because I'm trying to hire people or outsource certain things, but I don't really know, is that the thing that I should be outsourcing right now?
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I'm saying? So it's like that whole like experimenting with maybe for 3 months, trying to test something and see if this is the thing that's going to move the needle. Then you outsource that. Then you find the next thing. Then you outsource that. You know what I'm saying? And that
makes total sense. But that speaks to a couple of points. One is having systems in place. Like a lot of times as an entrepreneur, we can do a thing good. We can bake a cake.
Right.
We can cook, right? But we have no idea about how to take that skill set or that talent and make it into a business. How do we hire and recruit? How do we market? Right. How do we do our finances? How do we expand? Like we don't know how to do those things. And we spend most of our time working in the business, than working on the business. 'Cause
Yes.
we hustling, right? You know, if I don't bake this cake, you know what I mean? If I don't sell this insurance policy, you know, we can't eat. You know what I mean? So you're doing all these things, and you don't really have the time or the wherewithal to think about stepping back and breaking your business down in components and looking at the systems. And then what you just talked about was key, and that requires patience. You know how much patience you have to not only take time out to step back and look at your business, break it up in components, take one component, vet that component completely, meaning that you test it to make sure that it works right.
Right.
You know, that you've totally got it mastered for 2 or 3 months and make sure you got it before you move on to the next. You're right. A lot of us say, oh, man, I need help with this. Boom.
No.
Like
we got to prioritize.
Oh, we got to prioritize, and that's not taught. And that's why, you know, conversations like this and people, you know, being able to have access to an entrepreneur like yourself is important. So we talked about the business. Any aspirate and where you want to go more B2B to the company, and I think that's an ingenious idea. Any aspirations to do anything outside of what you're doing now on the entrepreneurial side?
Absolutely. Like, honestly, Chop Chop, I wanted it to be a platform like that allowed me to go into things like helping other small business owners and then also being like a shark. Like, I would love to, you know, make enough money doing this where then I can go and be that investor or that resource. So like, you know, doing things like this and speaking engagements and all that kind of stuff, those are things that I've wanted to do. But I also feel like you need to prove that you can do it before you go out trying to sell people this dream that you could do it. Because there's a lot of people that are, you know, and I've done it earlier on where I'm like helping to coach people, or at least I'm just, you know, they come to me as a resource. But I got to prove to myself that I can do it. You know what I mean? So,
that's a tough one because I struggle with that also. It was like, you know, I haven't won the NBA championship, so how can I talk about being a champion? Yeah. And so early on in my business, I really also struggled with this idea of, was I qualified enough to go and speak about this topic when I didn't feel like I had accomplished enough on my own? For me, and I got to imagine a lot of entrepreneurs may be like this, I don't ever think you'll get to the point where you feel totally accomplished. It's always going to be somebody that got like more accomplishments and you're going to be moving the bar. But there's somebody, a Tracy. We just had a call from California, and she heard what you said about your business and said, "Oh, that's a great idea." So it's always somebody who is not where you are right now in terms of the business cycle.
And an accomplishment means, or success means different things to different people.
Absolutely.
So like for me, I feel that I've reached a level of success to a certain point where like I got a business started, I branded it. It's something that's been recognized by the audience that I needed to gain that, you know, acceptance from.
Exactly.
And so to a certain extent, I do feel like I'm an expert in a certain area, or I can really help a person that's trying to start their business get to a certain level.
Sure.
But now when we talk about scale, I'm not the person to be the expert in scaling.
Yeah.
That's what I'm working on now. I'm trying to scale the business. And once I get to the point where I strategically scaled and I've had success in that realm, then I feel like I can talk to that level of people.
Well, you're an expert because you're smart enough now to know what you're proficient at and where you have areas of growth. Keisha, has been fabulous talking to you. For our listening audience, again, who wants to hire you for a speaking engagement, she's an expert consultant. She can talk to you about all things business. And
to a certain point.
Right, yeah, exactly. If they want to reach you, where can they reach you at?
So if you want to visit our website, you can go to www.chopchopmobile.com, and that's where you can see some of the different activations we've done, the brands we've worked with, our services, and you can book an event. If you want to follow me on social media, or you can follow Chop Chop on social media at Chop Chop Mobile. And then me personally, you can contact me at keisha.king at gmail.com if you're interested in like getting me for any speaking engagement.
Sure, gotcha. Well, I'll tell everybody, all the guests who come on the Urban Business Roundtable, that we purposely try to target certain individuals. We try to have individuals who can provide resources so people can hear how to take these tools and grow their business to the next level. And then we need to have people who have stories of inspiration, that mom, that wife who says, hey, I'm going to take this plunge and leave corporate America and start my own business. So we salute you.
Thank you.
We don't put a period here, we put a comma. So we always let you know that we're open. I'm open to partnership. So as things make sense, if you need our resources, my information, you got it. We're here as a resource for you. Time flies when you're having fun. I'll take a quick break, and I'll be back in about an hour with She Flips, He Flips with my host, EJ Williams, as we talk about the beautiful world of real estate investing. I got to get out of here. I don't do this for my first name. I do this for my last name, Chance Jordan. Daddy loves you. God bless. I got to get out of here and say what you want to about me, but I always know I did it my way. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.